And today I'm joined by well, he's not plastered, but he's had a few. We've got Harble,
Tipsy.
and well, yeah, and we've got Adam, who is his usual talkative self. Say hello, Adam. Thank you, Adam.
Hello.
Brilliant. Oh, he spoke.
On
Wonderful.
cue as always.
Hello.
Fantastic.
Right, we're off. Okay, so the Six
I
Nations
can't
starts
hear
in
any
two
of you.
days. You can't hear any of us. This has gone to shit so quickly. Um, I okay, deck. Six
Yes.
Nations starts in 2 days. I figure we give Adam enough time to sort this out for himself, and we can have a quick chat about, why
Trust me.
this is
I'm
England's Grand Slam year under their new coach, and Ireland will get left in the dust after their previous two wins.
Wow. That's a fantastic way of starting off a podcast. Not controversial at all, as usual, Ed. I'm pretty sure we can just keep talking and eventually Adam will contribute. So, charred cheese, take it easy, don't worry, sort it out. Oh wait, no, he can't
I'm
hear
I'm
us.
fine. I'm done.
Oh,
I'm happy now. Yeah,
fantastic. Well, now I'll
it's all
just tackle
sorted.
this. Now I'll just tackle this controversial question. England's Grand Slam. So,
Hey, just give me 5 minutes, and I'll be talking about how Ireland are going to Grand Slam. So just
okay,
well,
okay. Why? Well, I'll humor you. Why is it England's Grand Slam? Well,
England's Grand Slam year.
because you have
Clear as
the
day.
new coaching team.
New
Fantastic to
coaching
see.
team.
In comes Eddie Jones. Success with Japan, limited resources, not the greatest players on the planet. Manages to take down the wildebeest that is South Africa, and surely with greater resources and the world's greatest captain in Dylan Cartney, sorry, Dylan Hartley. Then
I'm being mocked now. No, no, it's okay. Fine. Let's. I'll put down the case very quickly. So
go ahead.
ignore. Yeah, Eddie Jones is new coach. Brilliant. If you ignore the fact that the team playing on Saturday is almost identical to one of the teams played during the World Cup. If you ignore that minor hiccup, and if you ignore that we're playing 3 away games this year, we've got this in the bag. We've got a new coach. And it doesn't matter that this is what we were saying 4 years ago, and we've got a new attitude to the team, and it doesn't matter that this is what we were saying 4 years ago,
Yeah.
and we'll just wreck shit up in Europe, and we're going to reclaim our first title since 2011. It'll be glorious.
Well, let me throw this out there to you. I mean, you can have the exact same team with a different coach, but I think it's how you coach the team, the mentality that you coach into a team that is going to define their season.
Yeah.
It's you can have the same play. Look at let's just take for example my favorite person on the entire planet, which is Matt O'Connor. He had the bulk of the Irish squad
Right.
and a fantastic number 10. I don't care what anybody says. Jimmy Gopperth is a fantastic attacking number 10. He just mismanaged the team. He was far too friendly, far too great. Let's all be pals and buddies. Didn't discipline that much, and Leinster played a form of horribly boring rugby. Funnily enough, the exact same style of rugby as Ireland under Joe
Wow.
Schmidt, except the difference is Ireland went out and won. And they had the bulk of Leinster players in there. 17 players throughout, I think, last year's Six Nations. So again, while you commented on, look, it's essentially the same team as one or two of the matches during you only had one or two matches anyway, during the World Cup. You're worried about that. I don't think so. It's all about the mentality and the coaching style.
Yeah. I was. Well, I mean, what I was going to say is, I mean, obviously, it's Ireland have had their 2 years. So for Wales's Grand Slam year, they've got all their injured players back. They've got a new attitude. They've got, post World Cup blues are going to be all over, and they're going to come at this thing with 3 home games, and they're going to beat everyone. And so, yeah, Wales Grand Slam, despite the fact that they've got Alex Cuthbert on the bench. Adam.
I'm as ashamed as anyone else is about that.
I
doesn't make
can't
any
really
sense.
talk, to be honest, because while you've got Alex Cuthbert in the number 23, we've got Alex Good in 22, and God knows what's going on there.
So every time someone says something about good, not good.
Well, it's pronounced good.
No,
Good
yeah,
is
Andy,
pronounced
and
good, and Alex
good's
Good is
good.
pronounced good.
Exactly. Anytime anybody says
broadcasters
something
the
about
shit out of
good, though, I just think back to last year
when he was shite.
Well, what are you talking about?
I know
When
he had that moment against Ireland
where
he
I couldn't believe what happened. I
that was
looking at it
amazing.
where he ran back
Into the
behind
in-goal
your
area,
line,
yeah.
into the in-goal area, behind the post, back out, and ran it out about 15 meters at least.
It's one of the best things he's ever done in an England shirt, and I
The
genuinely
only
hope
thing.
that he can do that again. But I reckon it's as good a point as any. I mean, where do we reckon? I mean, broadly speaking, for the competition as a whole, I'm feeling it's a bit too open and a bit too. There are slightly too many factors involved to call the whole thing. But I mean, aside from me, having various delusions of grandeur for different countries getting every Grand Slam under the sun. I mean, how do you just think the this first weekend's going to go?
Ooh, first weekend.
First weekend, France versus Italy, kicking off in Paris.
Um,
Be a massacre.
I'll throw it out straight away. Let's look back to last year. Italy regressed a lot. Their World Cup was the only game where they ever turned up was against Ireland, and I don't know if that was our fault or them being good,
They should
but
have.
but let's be honest. I don't see them really performing many miracles this year. I see them coming last, wooden spoon. Against France in Paris, if they manage to cause an upset, I swear to God, I will build a church to Bod.
No, it won't happen. I mean, I'm just thinking. I
Which will
mean,
come in the form of a pub, by the way, but just to
see,
cover myself.
Italy have. I think I want to say 3 away games this year. And I'm fairly sure France are going to massacre them. And how well they fare against, because they're playing away. See, I'm getting. Oh, I don't want to get ahead of myself. They're playing away against Ireland and
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
they,
it's,
they have
it's flew away this year for the.
us as well.
they have England at home
Okay.
and Scotland at home.
Wales, oh dear, Wales and Ireland away though. Jesus, but yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Off topic. First weekend though, Wales, France, Italy. I know what I'm talking about.
I'd say 20, 30 point spread because France has something to prove under a new coach with an experimental team and new players in there as well.
Tell you
I'm
what,
just having a
the
look at
drink.
the French squad now. The amount of uncapped players in there is ridiculous.
It's huge. It's an experimental team, and
Yeah.
they know this is their best chance to go out and see who can do what, who wants to prove themselves, and if these guys are hungry enough to solidify their place in the squad,
Yeah,
they will perform on the day, and it's
I
a
mean, they've
home
got.
match.
It's. I say, I mean, they've got about 7 or 8 uncapped players, but I do find it funny, the drinking game that goes around the sub every year, or I suppose every season. I feel like we should start extending it to just general talk in either the subreddit or when we do these podcasts, because every team seems to have a point to prove, and every team is coming off the World Cup with this in mind, and it's. I'm fairly sure we say the exact same things every year, and it's.
Oh
Maybe
yeah,
they do have a point to prove because their World Cup it seemed all right, and then it fell apart against just the most incredible All Black performance. But it's I reckon they should do all right.
I think the teetotaler wanting to expand drinking game is entertaining. I've had enough for tonight. I don't want to start drinking during this podcast as well. No, but look, let's just say France is at a bit of a strange point for French rugby, from my perspective, because
Supposed to
the
when
national team has been humiliated. The top 14 has become even more important. Essentially overtaking the French team officially because of how poor they played against Ireland and the All Blacks. I mean, it was a humiliating World Cup for them. And new coach, fair enough. New players, fair enough. But they brought in new rules for the top 14 as well. This is the French Federation trying to solidify their control over the top 14. Is it going to work? Well, if France flops again, and let's say for some reason somehow loses against Italy while trying to blood new players.
That won't happen when France are playing at home.
No, won't happen. Well, that's what I mean.
Impossible.
I'm just saying a hypothetical. Then you just see that's the death knell of the French national
fair
team,
enough.
and the top 14 is simply just going to be the only rugby in France,
Yeah.
and they'll
I
just be
will
there as a token team. But I mean, look, this
Yeah.
is important for them. They're going out to test new players. They're taking from top 14 teams. They've gotten rid of a couple of well-known names. But then
Juicy
again,
Squad retired.
I feel we need Fred on this because he'd say Guinoves probably just has a chip on his shoulder against Toulon.
Yeah.
But
Well, who doesn't really?
Well, yeah, but then again,
Also,
you and me
Fred's
aren't
not been
national
around in
coaches.
weeks. Where on earth is he?
In
It's Adam. Do you want to weigh in on France Italy? Can you hear us? Are we still coming live through to you?
maybe he's talking right now.
Maybe. It does sound a lot like him. I will say, I mean, the one thing, I mean, yeah, France, I reckon, are going to monster Italy. The one thing I do kind of envy this match over the other two is the referee. I mean, because I don't have too much against Garcés. For a French ref, he's not the worst. We have John Lacey for Scotland against England, which just is the worst. But Italy and France have JP Doyle, so I reckon, assuming no one does anything incredibly stupid, I reckon that should be perhaps the best refed game, and therefore the depending on how the teams do, it should be the best spectacle, I suppose, for the weekend.
No,
No?
it's Italy.
Well, no,
I mean,
well,
I'm hoping France opens things up and France plays like for how France should play.
I'm just being pessimistic about the idea of Wales playing crash ball in Lansdowne Road and England playing Scotland up north on a very rainy weekend in the second worst pitch in the Six Nations. So I'm figuring it's. I mean, granted, in fact, I take that back. France playing in Paris, their pitch is the worst ever anywhere, and so if it gets too forward contested, it's going to churn up and be awful.
Yeah, but I think Adam, how's your microphone looking there? Got a few issues.
It should be working all right now.
Oh, he's back.
Oh dear Lord, I am Lord. So France going to lose, yeah?
Yeah, I just don't think, other than all the points you've brought up, France absolutely has. Italy essentially have nothing to play for. Of all the teams in the Six Nations this year, I think they have the least, motivation, I suppose. No one expects them to do anything. They have no real sort of anything to bounce back from, any new coach, any sort of exciting new players or anything. They're just sort of limping along at the moment. I just don't really expect anything of them this year.
Yeah, they still have the same French coach. What's his name? Begins with B.
Jacques Brunel.
Brunel, yes.
Yeah.
No, he's
10 new caps, but it's I was going to say it's careful with all this talk of. I'm suddenly kind of feeling they do need to perform, and I'm thinking this is a topic that I do generally want to discuss in a more centralized podcast for itself. But the idea that after the showing of Romania and Georgia over the World Cup, and I think, you say that they perhaps don't have anything to play for. I think they need to front up and show that they are worthy of staying in this competition before talks get too out of hand from armchair critics like myself on when and how other teams might be introduced to the tournament.
Well, we obviously have our own viewpoints on that and how it should be done, but hey, maybe if we have another 20 minutes or 3 hours at the end of this podcast, we can chat about it. But
as I say, I will say it's a discussion for the other day, but I think to say that, not from my point of view, but from how just the rugby world in general, as I saw it kind of flared up around the World Cup with how Georgia and Romania played, because there are some very level-headed people saying not yet, and there are a very large chunk of people saying promotion relegation. So for that reason alone, I think Italy have something to prove to them that they still deserve to be in this competition.
True, but
yeah,
I still think that's a couple of years away, though.
Yeah. Scotland, England.
Scotland. I'm not even going to hesitate there.
It's that. You're that steadfast about Scotland winning.
Well, no, listen, it's not it's not just a viewpoint of I want England to lose. That obviously does come into it in a way, just because it's the Calcutta Cup in the last 15 years has just been so one-sided. I'd like to see an upset, but let's be honest. Let's look at Scotland's performance in the Rugby World Cup, out of all the home nations, they're the ones that you would have expected. Apart from Wales and their freakish ability to get
Yeah.
better with every injury that they've
And
gotten.
then lose in the last 5 minutes still.
Exactly, but I still thought
yeah.
that Scotland's performance was probably the most.
They came the closest to the quarterfinal.
They came the closest to the
semi-final.
quarterfinal.
Semi-final.
It is going to be a controversial statement, but a referee did have a hand in it. That's something that people can criticize me for saying, or we can have an entire
Move on,
hour long podcast for it.
but
But I'll just throw that out there. They didn't beat themselves. I still think the referee had a part to play in it. They were the most innovative home nation team. They weren't afraid to open it up a bit, which obviously is a bit more high risk rugby. If you tend not to do things correctly, you have a high chance of losing.
It's all about those sweet intercept tries, though, isn't it?
Exactly.
I reckon we'll see at least 2 on Saturday.
And let's turn back to last year's Six Nations. Scotland could have, should have, and probably were thereabouts to winning 3 games.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They lost. They lost by the skin of their teeth to Wales, to France, and to Italy. Felt bad a lot. I was obviously supporting. I'd say. Yeah, sorry, Adam. I was supporting Scotland against Wales.
I'll forgive you.
I think after 2010, any neutral has the right to support Scotland in that fixture.
Exactly. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't even feel bad to losing to Scotland in our couple of poor years since 2010. So I'm going to go out and say it. I'd like to see Scotland take the championship. I don't think a Grand Slam.
Oh, really?
I don't even think a Grand Slam's on cards for them or for.
I don't think a Grand Slam's on the cards for anyone.
No, I'll disagree with you there.
I don't know about that.
We can go into it later. There's only one team I think that's in contention for a Grand Slam. But we'll not talk about that now, and I don't want to say which team. But
Italy.
I think Scotland, Italy definitely. I think Scotland has a chance to beat France and England at home. Italy, I think they're going to rectify last year's mistake, and I think they're going to put Italy to bed.
Fair enough.
And then there is a chance. It's not the biggest chance. I think they could take Wales or Ireland, but not both. So we'll see. They're playing in Dublin, and I think they're playing in Cardiff as well. So I think it's going to be difficult for them. But an upset. If there's an upset on the cards, I think it's going to be Scotland. And if they get away with one of those upsets, I think Scotland could take the championship, but not a Grand Slam. So I'm going to be backing Scotland against England for again the reasons.
That you just said.
Well, no, not just that. For this weekend coming in, new coach, new environment, but again, I suppose there's not a huge mix-up in players, so that can go either way.
Cotter has had a year to bed down, and he's got. I mean, it's kind of weird to look at because I mean, the team is very unchanged. England's team is very unchanged, and yet, I mean, if you want to bring, I feel like bring back the cliches. We do have a point to prove, and that. We played brilliantly last year's Six Nations and then completely shit the bed at the World Cup. And so how we play now is, I think, a hugely important statement to be making. So it's, I mean, we could go the way of the World Cup or we could go the way of the last year's Six Nations. And I'm hoping we play like we did last year's Six Nations. I think it's... everyone's saying Hartley's going to get red card, and I think that's bollocks. And we've got 3 vice captains who are all very, very hot-headed, but it's. I feel like CC is going to tell me that Scotland are going to win this as well, which is going to be awful because I'm going to be there. And if that does happen, I'm going to feel like shit.
Scotland are going to win. I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, dear.
I'm going to tell you why.
I used to like you, Adam.
No, it's. I think that this is. Now you can sort of say this is the best Scotland team that's existed for years.
Yeah.
Especially with their 2 centres, they've got guys like Stuart Hogg, Finn Russell, the form Laidlaw's in as well. So the backs are really good. They've got a good team going, and I think England. It's not the worst team they've had for a while, not by far, but it's definitely the most vulnerable they've been for a while.
Yeah.
They need to put 100% into this game on Saturday if they're going to think about winning. It's not something they can cruise or just sort of try not to lose. They have to go 100% winning it, otherwise Scotland are going to take it.
Well, that's something as well. Teams do target games, and
And
I think.
everyone targets the England game.
Well, no, let's put it this way. I don't think Ireland's targeting the England game this year. I mean, obviously every team is going to go into a match with the view to win, but let's look at the World Cup. Ireland targeted France, and Argentina knew they weren't going to beat the All Blacks, so they targeted Ireland because they expected us to beat France. What happens? We target a game. We rack up some injuries, and they've targeted us, and they've prepared for us, and they've watched every single move, and they were able to just, run circles around us. I think Scotland has targeted this game. Scotland wants to prove a point. No better time to do it than the first match at home against the old enemy. There you go. I mean, I just think there's more motivation for Scotland than there is for England, even though England definitely does have something to prove.
I just hope I can come onto the podcast next week and be smug. But quite frankly, I'm as much as I hope that, I don't think it'll be the case. Well,
I hope I can come onto the podcast next week and be sober.
That's not going to happen. And so, moving swiftly on then, I couldn't really comment on either. I mean, I made that slight jab about Cuthbert in the 23 shirt. No idea who's actually playing for Ireland this weekend, but
no one does.
Do you two want to have it out as to who's going to, after the World Cup you both had, who's going to have it out between the two of you on Sunday?
I'm going to give the floor over to Adam to start this off.
Ireland playing at home, just for Adam's consideration.
Yeah, I'm going to refer to history here. 2011 World Cup, come off the back of it, 2012 Six Nations, first game, Ireland v Wales. Wales took it in a very close fashion. I think it'll be...
I thought Ireland won in 2012.
No, Wales got the Grand Slam.
That didn't happen.
I'm thinking
Stop
2013.
2013 wasn't the Grand Slam. That was the year we embarrassed you.
I was thinking of the route. Oh, piss off! I was thinking of
Oh, that's right. It was 21-23 to Wales in Dublin.
I was thinking of the Ireland game in 2013, just because it's a losing streak. But I'm he's bringing up bad memories. I'm going to have a sob now.
In fairness, though, I mean, Wales Grand Slam, you lose by 2 points in Dublin. Goddamn Welsh. The year after was when we had a ridiculously good first half against Wales in Cardiff, and then
they had a ridiculously good second half.
Basically, after our first 40 minutes of ridiculously good rugby, the rest of the entire competition just fell apart. And then we got a new coach at the end of the year.
40 minutes seems a thing for us. That's a harsh dig.
40 minutes more than England.
No.
Ireland have a great 79 minutes, and then Brian Crotty just runs in and spoils it.
Sorry, you mean 81 minutes? Oh my god. Or France. Yeah, France has done that to us a couple of times.
They've done it to everyone a couple of times.
Yeah, true.
So who are we thinking? So it's Ireland at home. I mean, are Wales going to bring it with their no longer injured players? Though I don't recognise some of these players. Halfpenny's still out, and Reece Priestland's still on the bench. I thought he wasn't going to play because he's at Bath.
Oh, that have you not heard that? Is probably the funniest story of the season. He went to Bath telling them, I don't want to play for Wales anymore, and they said, oh great, we can have you during the Six Nations then.
Yeah.
And then a couple of weeks before the Six Nations, before the squad announcement, he came out and said, actually I do want to play for Wales. And then Gatlin picked him.
Brilliant.
And now Bath are without 2 international 10s that they thought they'd have one of for the Six
Mike
Nations.
Ford must be raging.
I don't think he's very happy now.
He's got my full sympathy. That was fairly sarcastic if it didn't sound it.
No.
But so Wales.
I mean, having Priestland off the bench isn't the worry it was a couple of years ago. He's definitely improved. I mean, when he came on during the World Cup, he was brilliant. I
think I've seen him play quite well for Bath as well.
It's certainly, it's weird having like Dan Lydiate on the bench as well, with Sam Warburton and Justin Tipuric starting. which
Oh,
is
you're actually going with the Warbrick.
yeah, we're going with a Warbrick, which I don't think has been done in a Six Nations match since the
No,
2013 Wales England
piss,
match.
no, piss off. All right, just none of that.
Uh,
That's completely
so it's a,
unnecessary.
it's a really good combination that I really like.
Really,
It's yeah.
bollocks.
The sort of risks, I suppose, in the team, because it's a fairly solid team otherwise, are no Gethin Jenkins not starting, um, and having Gareth Anscombe and Tom James start as well. Because I mean, Gareth Anscombe, he only got his first cap halfway through last year, and Tom James hasn't played for Wales since 2010. So
Oh, I
they're the
did
risky ones.
recognise the name. Yeah, I suppose it's not. I mean, Samson Lee. Samson Lee's the one that looks like a fridge, isn't he?
Oh yeah.
Like a fridge.
Looks like he ate everything in the fridge and then the fridge itself. Um,
True. I think he's a bit overrated, but that's a topic for a different day.
I'm not going to judge anyone's props
No.
because I think that'll too swiftly come back to bite me. So I
Yeah,
know.
we'll have a chat about your hooker, but anyway, second choice, yeah, and he's captain.
Yeah.
So
Ireland. I mean, who are you playing? I mean, I can't see you playing anyone at the moment, so it'll just be
exactly, we're actually
Wales unopposed.
we've all got the Wikipedia squad open, the squad page open for this match coming up, and essentially we have nobody announced. We're playing nobody. It's 23 Welshmen against no one.
That's a bold strategy there.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton, but let's see if it pays off. I'm going to be honest, and this is difficult to say. I think Wales will take it, and if the only country I can see winning a Grand Slam this year, or the potential of winning a Grand Slam,
Don't
this
say
year,
Wales because I'll
is
cry.
Wales.
Oh, dear.
Oh, you're my favourite.
Their biggest hurdle is Ireland.
Not England, because we're playing at Twickenham.
Well, yeah, they already beat you at Twickenham.
Yeah, oh, shut up.
When was the last time we beat England at Twickenham?
2010.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah, 5-6 years. So,
When was the last time Wales beat England at Twickenham? I can't really remember.
I think I need a reminder as well.
When
the last time Wales beat England at Twickenham was?
Wales beat England. I mean, we haven't played there in so long. I
haven't played there in 15 years.
It's been about 4 years maybe. It's. I'm sure I remember a game there in perhaps 2014. That was. No, nothing since though.
Right. Let me just give you the reasons why I think this. Wales is playing Ireland away, England away. Who else is away there? It's France is at home, so I think Wales will take France handily. They're potentially the only country that I can see beating England at home. Again, as I said, Ireland, last time we beat England at home, it's been a long time. I think we'd be quite lucky to do that, especially considering that we have Wales at home, then France away, then England away. Those are 3 tough matches. Yeah. Wales at home, we have a good record away in Cardiff. They have a good record at home here in Dublin.
I'm going to try and stay a bit hopeful then. In that, I mean, I know that we're playing 3 away games this year.
Yeah.
And I know we didn't want to do a prediction for the whole thing, but let's go with it. So if we take it as a given that England are going to beat Scotland up at Murrayfield, because the alternative upsets me. Then we go to Rome the week after. Then we've got a 2-week break, and then we play host to Ireland, and then after a week we play host to Wales, and then we're away in Paris. So I mean, we're getting the 2 very easy games out the way, which means we can't really have a situation where if it does come down to equal wins and we're playing for points, we can't in Paris realistically we can't do what we did last year and have an insane free-for-all going for as many points as we can.
No, same won't happen again.
So if we were playing Italy or Scotland, then maybe it could come into it. But we're playing the 2 easiest games first, and then we've got a break, and then we've got a home game, and then it's the 2 harder games, I would imagine, at the tail end of the competition. And so I'm hoping that the the fact that we've got a new coach is slightly, the fact that everything's kind of up in the air. It's all negated by us doing really well in the first 2 weeks and just building up the best steam we can to then steamroll over everyone else. Which we probably won't, and I'll be heartbroken for another year. But
yeah. So I mean, like it is difficult to comment on this weekend, considering that Ireland haven't announced the team. But I know I've been corrected on the sub already by Arse Biscuits. I still think 1 to 5 is our weakest on the team. We're down to 3.5 locks essentially. One is untested, but is quite good for Connacht.
They're doing quite well, though.
If we get an injury in the second row, we're going to be in trouble. We are down first choice props, about 3 of them. Now we do have coverage there, which is fine. I can see us doing okay, but I still don't see us being, say, one of the top packs this year. So it's difficult. That is one of our weakest areas. And then
of course there's Sexton, who if he just
I was about to say,
a light breeze pushes past him, he's going to be out for a while.
Well, look, there's no Bastereau for him to tackle with his face.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, that's fine. So, I mean, look.
Stop the sorry, I really want to interrupt. I've just noticed, I didn't pay attention before, Maxime Medard is playing for France at 15, and he's one of my favourite French players, and I didn't realise he was playing, so I'm quite pleased to see that. And back to you.
Well, going back to Sexton, he was targeted in the World Cup, and he was targeted last Six Nations. He's going to be targeted by every team again. No matter what you say, the fly half is generally targeted in a team.
Yeah,
it's come up in the
just
sub.
Means you need good centres.
We do have big centres and good centres this year.
And big flankers as well.
McCluskey and Henshaw, and the rumour is McCluskey at 12 and Henshaw at 13. However, this is the one time that I'm actually going to agree with other people in the sub and say that Brian O'Driscoll's Twitter page got to me, and it was kind of annoying about how arrogantly he turned around and said, I know who Joe Schmidt is picking, so it doesn't matter what the country wants. Now, I'm sure he didn't mean it in an arrogant way, and, do forgive me, Bod, for my sins. But I still can't see him picking Payne and Henshaw again and Rob Kearney at 15. I still think the best team is Payne at 15, or the best selection in the back line. Payne at 15, McCluskey at 12, and Henshaw at 13. But then we got a nice big centre partnership. But you look at Wales, and they're gigantic. They are ridiculously big.
Yeah.
So I'm not even going to get into it. They're scary. Like when Roberts and Davies are still not the biggest on the pitch, you get a bit worried. And then the Warburg.
Well, at least they don't have Mike Phillips waiting around the fringes as waiting to start a fight.
But the Warburg is something we haven't spoken about. Sean O'Brien is potentially out, right?
Oh, really?
So who do we have? I'd love to see maybe a Jordy Murphy or Van der Fleer and Rhys Ruddock. It'd be fantastic to see Rhys Ruddock play against Wales. Daddy, I'm knocking on the door. Your Grand Slam achievements mean nothing because I'm going to win it in green. That'll be the first time that he'd play against Wales, actually. And I don't know who he'd support, but I think Mike Ruddock said he would support.
Oh, he said he'd support his son.
Yeah, he's done it before. But
he didn't say he'd support Ireland. He just said he'd support his son.
He'd be kind of a terrible father. He's like, no, son, I'm ignoring you this match. I'm going to support the team that kicked me out over 11 years ago.
So, Andy Farrell, are you going to be supporting your son?
Yeah.
I just have to say, I mean, I don't know. Listen, that's a topic for a different day.
I think it was a different day.
So we're going to go with Heaslip at 8. I don't think there's going to be any surprises there. No matter how many people want to see CJ Stander, I don't think this is going to be the match he's going to start in. I think Rhys Ruddock is going to start, and maybe who else would start with him in the back row?
Henry?
Yeah, probably is a safer option, but
he's the only one of yours I can remember at the moment.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Regarding Irishmen.
Well, I can't
talking
help you
about the
there.
back row, my favourite Irish player, Robin Copeland. Where do you think he lines up in the future?
Uh, for Munster, and that's it.
Do you not see it? Do you not see a spot for him for Ireland?
Personally, no, but I don't know. I've never really rated him that great, but
Really? Oh, that
look, this is my blue tinted glasses, and I just haven't really paid a lot of attention to him. I'll be honest. I can't really comment on Copeland a lot. I don't think he's really ever stood out for me, which has probably angered a ridiculous amount of people at the moment. But
Ah, well.
it's just why do you like him?
he's very he's I don't know how to describe it. Like one of those players that you can never go backwards, ever. So he's sort of like reliable in that sort of sense. Um, I think he's only had a couple of games for months this season, but he's had a couple of man of the matches already, even though he hasn't been starting or playing a lot. He always makes an impact on whatever game he plays, and he used to play for the Cardiff Blues, so that just shows how amazing he is.
Ah, right. Yes, clearly. Like, I don't know. I know he's played all over the back row. But I'd kind of, when someone says Copeland to me, I think number 8, and I just don't see him being in the pecking order there.
He's been playing at 6 more recently for Munster.
Yes, I know he's played around the back row, but again, I haven't been paying a huge amount of attention to Robin Copeland. Like he just hasn't really been on my radar for it. I don't know, maybe if I've just been missing something, or if I've been ignoring him, and maybe I've been committing a cardinal sin. But just my perception when you say the name is the number 8 comes into mind, and it doesn't really, make me think much of it.
How long do you think? How long do you think Heaslip has then left at number 8 for Ireland?
Longer than you'd think. Him and CJ Stander are both excellent. 2 slightly different styles. One's a better carrier. Heaslip ran him ragged around the pitch in Thomond Park. Now, that's a difficult thing to kind of properly measure, because Munster were literally on their knees. In general, I don't mean in just that match. Just they're not having a great season. They were. I think their motivation was shot. I think their confidence was shot, and I think Leinster was kind of on the rise at that point. But he didn't have a good game compared to Heaslip. I still think Heaslip is the number 1 choice, but I think it's fantastic to have the option to have 2 different styles for number 8, because you need it. You can't just, for as good as Heaslip is, you can't just consistently play the same player in the same position game in, game out. The more choice that you have and the different styles that you can mix up, that's important, and Ireland is very good in the back row. But Heaslip has been unchallenged for a couple of years, so
Yeah, we've got the same problem in Wales now for a couple of years with Falatau.
Yeah, I mean he's excellent. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, but there's no one near his level in Wales at all.
And CJ Stander would still be the closest, but I'd see Heaslip as still being better. But just in different areas that you can't. They're not the exact same. You can't just simply turn around and say I never want to see CJ Stander play, or I never want to see Heaslip in starting 15 again. I mean, you'd be quite ignorant to say that, and maybe it was ignorant of me to put Robin Copeland down, but again, that's a different topic, I guess. So it's great to have the option on hand, and I'd love to see CJ Stander tested at a starting position for Ireland at number 8, and I'd love to see it this Six Nations and see if throwing him in the deep end will pay off. But let's see. I'm not the one making the selection. I still wouldn't put him in for this match, or for England, or for France. But Scotland or Italy, they're nice matches to at least test new players. But as I said, I'm kind of worried about Scotland this year. But yeah, so back row. Just going back to this weekend, I suppose. It's not announced yet. We're already potentially down Sean O'Brien against Warbrick. 1 to 5, I'm not the most confident about, but again, we do have good choices still for the front row. Lock is probably where I'm most worried about because, yes, we do have fantastic players starting, but again, as I said in the sub, if we get an injury, we're in untested waters and potentially, up shit creek without a paddle, basically.
Is Henderson injured, or is he still around? Is he still kicking?
I'm actually not too sure. Let me have a quick
Have a
look.
look. I'm just having a look now. I
Is Henderson the
can't
No, I
see
think
him.
he's
babyface
out.
one?
No, yes. No, he's out.
Yeah, because I was thinking because last time Wales came to Ireland, the thing that really destroyed Wales was the maul and the driving line out.
Yeah.
And I think now without O'Connell and without Henderson, and then with Alan Wynne-Jones and with Charteris, will there be the same threat that it was last time?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm genuinely worried about because no matter what way you look at it, losing Paul O'Connell, the pack is down a leader, the team is down a leader. Yeah, let's see. I'm very nervous about this match. I suppose we just have to wait and see what team is announced, and I still am tipping Wales for the match to take it. Again, I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a big win. And if Wales does win, I think you're on the cards for a Grand Slam. If we win, we're at an uphill battle. And I think we could take a championship.
I just going off everything you've just said. It's kind of it's getting to my pessimistic self and giving me slightly more confidence that in the third week that England has a better chance at Twickenham against Ireland than they might have had. So that's all right. But so what do we think? So for opening weekend, there we're thinking it's 3-0. It's France. 2-1. It's Scotland against Italy, and 2-1. It's Wales against Ireland.
Wait, you're supporting Ireland then?
Yeah, it's. Well, it's. I tell you what it is. It's. I will get over it eventually, but I suppose maybe it is coming to an end, and maybe it's some of the players, but it's. I still don't like Wales very much.
Well, look,
I can't. I can't say I don't know what it is because they used to be my second team. Maybe it's just that they don't have Shane Williams anymore. That could be just it. But it's give me a few more years and then I'll sour on Ireland and I'll become favourable to Wales. But for the time being, I'll go for the boys in green.
Well, I'm 100% behind Ireland, and I want Ireland to win, and I want to humiliate Wales because as much as I love Wales, I also love humiliating them even more, especially after losing in Cardiff last year and just being shown up with their 1,700 injuries and still doing better than us in the World Cup. Reaching quarterfinals, but still putting up a better fight. I just, as much as I love our neighbours, I'd love to humiliate them. So I want to see us put a big score on them. But there are too many question marks for me. We've lost a coach. We've lost a talisman and a captain. We have question marks of the first five. If we get an injury in 4 or 5, I think we're in very troubled waters. We're down Sean O'Brien, Peter O'Mahony, and then just question marks. We don't know what the centre partnership is going to look like. It's just too many question marks for me, and that is a strong and powerful Welsh team that has been announced. No team is unbeatable except for the All Blacks for Ireland. So I hope I'm proven wrong.
Yeah, well, so do I. Yeah. I'm going to say, God, we've been at this for a while now. I reckon move away very briefly off the Six Nations. The ENC one and the what's it called? The Americas
ARC.
The America's Rugby Championship. Yeah. So yeah, just briefly in 10 words or less, or really we'll give it a couple of minutes. I seem to have closed the one I had on the Americas. The ENC one, European Nations Cup 1A division, I think we'll forego 1B for the time being. It's basically been Georgia's for the taking for years. So, but do you have any views on that before we touch on the Americas?
I'm just looking. I'm just looking at the table now. So running over the sort of 2-season table that it does. Georgia obviously have won 5 out of 5. That's sort of unexpected. Um, Germany have one match point out of every match they've played. They've lost 5 matches, so they'll probably get relegated at the end of this competition.
Yeah.
Probably to be replaced by, I think, probably
Russia? No.
Belgium.
Yeah.
Russia are in
Yeah.
the top
Sorry.
division, so yeah.
Yeah. Belgium looks the
Um,
most likely.
the match to look out for in that one is obviously Georgia and Russia, because that's always a great game.
Yeah.
Um, but by the looks of things, it's been getting more popular all
So,
round in Romania and Portugal as well. I think it's getting more popular in Portugal.
so, some insights I've picked up from the sub recently
Yeah.
are there are three troubled unions on this table.
Oh, really? That's not surprising.
From what I have heard, Portugal is in a very bad state with their union. Was it 2 years ago, if not less? Spain was essentially declaring their union declared bankruptcy.
Oh, really? Shit.
And from what somebody said that I read earlier today before I went out and lost a horrible game of tag and started drinking to forget it, someone mentions that since the World Cup in 2011, Russia has been on a downward spiral. Although they have, a team.
That one I did know.
They have a team in the second division in Europe and so on and so forth, but it doesn't seem to be in a good state. Germany, Romania, and Georgia are the opposite. Georgia and Romania obviously being the two strongest, and rugby's picking up in the last couple of years, and they did decently at the World Cup for
Oh, yeah, they
tier 2
both
teams.
did great.
And Germany has been doing fantastic at sevens, getting better and better each year, and I think they're in the repechage with Ireland coming up soon. I hope to see an Ireland versus Germany game.
And who will you be supporting in that?
Who do you think?
It's I thought Germany. Just checking.
I will give you a slap.
So,
So I'm going to say this. I think Germany could take.
well, you think Germany might go fifth and Portugal get relegated, or?
Yes, I'm hoping Russia gets relegated. I'd like to see. I'd like to see Germany move up.
Yeah.
Germany's playing away to Georgia this weekend. I think they are going to be slaughtered. Heidelberg will be destroyed.
Georgia have gone for a weaker team for that match, though. They haven't gone full strength for that.
Yeah, but it's still. I mean, it's. I think. I mean, it's as you say, going after the World Cup. Georgia and Romania, I think, are generally on the up and up, and as long as they stay on their trajectory for a good few years, their union should stay fairly healthy. So, quite frankly, I mean, it's a start of anything. I mean, I'd love to see more of the European teams become more competitive and get more of a backing behind them. But if we can start with just a couple, so that to bring the profile up, I mean, some of those. In fact, I want to say Spain. I'm sure it was Spain was actually competitive in the Women's Six Nations before they got unceremoniously dumped for Italy or Scotland or someone, just so that the teams lined up with the men's. And I think that's a bit of a shame, because they could have carried on with that, playing well, it could have that could have been a bit of a shot in the arm for them.
So that is exactly it. They were replaced by Italy, and Italy wasn't doing as well. Italy has overtaken them. They've published it for the first time ever, the women's world rankings.
Oh, yeah.
Ireland is now fourth.
We should have had that as a talking point.
I think England is third, and unsurprisingly New Zealand first. I forget who's second.
I think Spain are above Wales in that ranking as well.
Yes, they are.
Really?
Wales is quite low.
Wow.
Wales are 10th, I think. If I remember rightly.
I think Spain is either 8th or 7th, and Italy is just above them. Again, when they were dumped and Italy was brought in, Italy was actually lower, but considered lower. But I mean, quickly back to the ENC, I suppose, before swapping topics 10 times over. Germany has 2 home matches. They lost every match last year. It's an uphill battle. The 2 matches they have at home are Portugal. I think they can take that, because it was, I think, 11-8 or something that close away to Portugal last year. So there's a big chance they can take them. If they score more points, fantastic, they're through. And they have Spain, again, another team that has, according to the sub, and I'm going off what I've read because I haven't done a lot of reading on Spanish or Portuguese rugby outside of the sub, they're also a team that's not doing too well at the moment, or at least their union's not doing too well, and that might have an effect as well. So the 2 home matches they have are potentially the 2 easiest ones. They're going away to Russia. Doesn't look great. In an away match for Russia, they almost qualified for the repechage for the Rugby World Cup. They lost in the 84th minute to Russia, and they conceded 2 tries in 2 minutes or something ridiculous. So they can go to toe-to-toe with Russia, but that was a home match. And then I think they haven't a hope away against Romania or Georgia. So I don't know about you guys. I've obviously been following one team in the ENC, but that's my perspective, and I'd love to see Germany take 2 matches if they can and avoid relegation. But hey, let's see how it goes.
It'd be nice to see. I will say, I think one of the biggest problems this tournament has as a whole is that the dates that they play line up almost exactly with that of the Six Nations, and if they could get offset by a couple of days, so if they're played on Fridays and the Six Nations on Saturdays and Sundays, it could slightly more exposure and a slightly bigger audience. I think that could help, because I'd really love to pay more attention and follow it more closely.
Yeah,
but it's not always the easiest thing, which I feel may be true of the America's Rugby Championship.
Well, I was about to say it's true about women's rugby and under-20s rugby as well. I mean, okay, under-20s rugby, you can imagine it's not going to be the biggest draw for everybody unless you're a die-hard rugby fan. You want to see players come through from your country and see what's going on in the others, future generations and so on. Women's rugby, though, has received more attention in recent years, especially in Ireland, seeing as the team has been doing well, and they're the only team in green to beat a team in all black.
Yeah.
So kudos to them, and they're receiving more and more media attention. They've received an upgrade in stadium to Donnybrook with 5,000 capacity. Problem is, though, it's it's obviously going to clash with the men's Six Nations, and that is ultimately what is going to draw in people.
Yeah.
So, I'd love to watch both. I'd love to watch all 3. In fact, I'd love to watch all 5. Under-20s, women's rugby, the men's Six Nations,
the
ENC, and the Americas. But
and
there's only so many hours in the day.
I've got to say, I mean, let's switch up the topic one more time. Let's bring it all the way round to the opposite side of the Atlantic, because it is... I mean, I don't know what... I couldn't even fathom a guess for what numbers might be like for this, but for the inaugural... America's Rugby Championship, we've got games in in Chile, Canada, and the US, and I'm hoping they get good turnouts, and I'm hoping that they promote it well. But I haven't seen much, if any, information on it. So it's I'm hoping that all these pitches don't turn out empty, and I'm hoping it's not teams running out to just really quiet crowds. But this is I think I want to say it's now the 4th version of, and no, maybe 3rd, I think. You know what? I'm actually thinking of domestic US competitions. Ignore what I just said.
Already ignored. I didn't even listen to you.
That's fine. It's late. I need to sleep. I've got to be on a coach really early. The inaugural rugby America's Rugby Championship, I reckon it'll be fascinating. I mean, Argentina is actually it's the Argentina 15. We've got Canada and the US, who tend to be at odds with each other quite often. I couldn't say... I mean, going just off the World Cup, I'd say Canada is the stronger of the two, but I think Uruguay had a half-decent showing, not the best.
They're going to win the whole thing.
They got the only red card of the World Cup, but I reckon this is... I'm curious to see how this works with regards to... Argentina, I feel, are going to have an incredibly... an interesting and an intriguing year, because they've got the Argentina 15 playing in this, they've got the Jaguars in the Super Rugby, and then they've got the Rugby Championship at the end of the year. I'm curious to see how all of that works and what kind of, if there's any crossover with players, who's playing where. I reckon this is Argentina's for the taking.
Yeah.
But I think it's got a lot of potential, and I think it could be a hugely interesting competition to kick off. And it's nice to see again more tier 2 teams like Chile and Brazil.
Well, they're technically, I don't know if the term is still there, but tier 3 or they're development tier 2. But yeah. I think that's what interests me about this competition is Brazil and Chile are now included. Canada and the USA need a regular competition. That's fine. They just they'll be playing each other. They're roughly at the same level. Canada slightly regressed and the USA is slightly improved. Reason is
Really?
from what I've
After
understood.
their World Cup, I
From
wouldn't say that.
from
But
what I understood over the last couple of years, Canada's been investing more in sevens than they have in 15s.
yeah,
They had problems with coaches, whereas the USA had a decent coach and has they've been improving there. They're launching a professional league, as is Canada. I saw the thread in the sub, but I didn't
just,
read it. Uruguay is doing well, but again, no real professional league. It's amateur and a couple of players, not a lot playing abroad. Argentina, though, on the topic of an amateur league and performing well, they have an amateur domestic league, and in the last 10 years, they have been punching far above their weight. And in fact, I'm going to go above and beyond. I'm going to say the last 17 years, going back to the '99 World Cup where they knocked out Ireland. So, having an amateur league doesn't exactly hold back certain countries, especially a country like Argentina. So I think they're just going to run ragged over this competition. I'd love to see Brazil and Chile do well and turn up. Uruguay, I'd love as well to see, but the three teams that are mostly going to interest me are Argentina, Canada, and USA. But yeah, you were talking about stadiums.
yeah, I was just having a look that I think it's. I mean, going a second. I mean, I know we were mentioning that. I hope it's not going to turn out that there are going to be really small crowds. But looking at it, it's the home stadium for Argentina, 41,000. That's fairly respectable. Home stadium for the USA, it's between 11 and
They have
22,000. But I'm
three
looking at
stadiums though.
it's but
Yeah.
Canada, West Hill Stadium, capacity 1,718, and I think that is just fucking appalling. That is a massive shame. But and the thing is though, I for one I think that's way too small. But then on the other side, I'm hoping so much that they fill that, because if they can't even fill capacity to less than 2,000 spectators, I think that'd be a huge shame for what should be a promising
I mean,
competition
I,
for
I
Canada rugby.
completely agree with you. I think Chile is being realistic with their numbers. 2,000 and 6,000. Unfortunately, 2,000 is I think maybe a bit too few. But to give you an example, Brazil had a stadium with what was it, 40,000 capacity in thereabouts. Recently, I happened to stumble across. I think Adam, you sent it over to me.
Yeah, they'll
A
put
link.
Germany.
Germany's tour of Brazil. It was a two-match tour. Germany won
Oh
both
yeah,
matches.
I remember.
And holy fuck, I was actually amazed to see one entire section of the stadium was packed out, and this
Yeah.
is in southern Brazil. Forget the name of the city. It was on it's on the tip of my tongue. German-sounding name, funnily enough. And they had, I think, the turnout was 12,000 out of 39. So there's definitely potential for this competition. I think there's definitely potential in Brazil. USA, I think they've hit the nail on the head with the numbers, 11 to 20,000. Now I'm kind of confused why two of the stadiums are in Texas and not spread out a bit more, but that's fine. But Argentina,
It's probably so that they're closer to South America.
yeah,
I mean, I know Canada's one hell of a trip up, but I suspect they're trying to limit the travel, I suppose. Even though time zones wouldn't come into it, so
no, time zones won't. They're about 2 to 3
God
hours
knows.
difference,
Yeah.
not too that, because the USA has kept it to one kind of area. But Argentina, we know they can fill out stadiums. The question is, do they give a shit about playing Brazil, Uruguay, Chile? Hope so. They're their neighbours. Argentina, hopefully, people want to turn out and show them this is how we play rugby and turn out in force. Against Canada and the USA, do they care? I don't know. Hopefully, I'm hoping that they can fill out these stadiums, because 41,000, 25,000, you're looking at the top three largest stadiums in this tournament. But again, I'm just looking at Canada, and I'm hoping this is a mistake in Wikipedia.
hoping the comma's been moved, or there's a decimal error or something, and it should be 11,000.
Or they just haven't updated it. I'm hoping to God, because Canada in the late 1990s was one of the countries that was, I think they were considered actually ahead of Argentina in the early 1990s. And as the game turned professional, Canada dropped the proverbial ball,
You
and
know what?
Argentina picked it up and has taken their place as the up and coming nation, and they've solidified it. Professional team in the works. A first team, a second team, a national team, and they've joined the rugby championship as well. Whereas Canada has
not
essentially regressed.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's not a typo. I've clicked on the link. West Hills Stadium. The stadium has a 1,600 permanent seat capacity.
No,
The main city centre Park Stadium, 1,218 undercover, temporary seating for 500. It's
what I meant by mistake was
yeah.
I was hoping that some moron didn't update the Wikipedia page.
Oh, right, well, yeah, let's hope that is the case.
Because their home ground is the BMO field.
Oh, right.
When you click on the Canadian team, which, I probably should have done a bit more research, which does have a capacity of 30,000.
Well, yeah, Jesus.
But why wouldn't they be playing there?
Yeah. Maybe they are just trying to limit their expectations with capacity, and they're hoping, if they fill West Hills, then they'll get some area interested in Canada rugby, and they'll see that if they sell out, then they can try to market for a bigger stadium next year or something. But maybe it's I don't know.
2013, they filled it out with 23,000 fans.
What do I know then? I will say the one thing, it's because it's the 6th. 6th is Saturday. Super Bowl's on this Sunday, isn't it? I always find it peculiar that they have the biggest football match on basically what is technically a school night, unless they've got a bank holiday, which I suspect they don't. But that's beside the point. So that doesn't clash with the big sporting event. I'm hoping it doesn't clash with many, and I hope that it actually gets a decent TV crowd as well, assuming it's being broadcast, which again I suspect it probably isn't.
If you've watched the Pacific Nations Cup of the past couple of years, Canada have been playing what you'd consider to be fairly big teams like Japan in this Westfield Stadium, and not really filled it then.
Well, that's upsetting.
So it's been really disappointing these past couple of years, because I watched them a couple of years ago when they played the States in the BMO field, and it was full. It was a great atmosphere. They played Scotland there recently, I think, there as well, and it was a great atmosphere. And then this past couple of years, it's just dropped really dramatically.
So West Hills, by the way, kind of screws everything up, considering time zones, because this is in the far west it's in British Columbia. So you have the 3 American stadiums in
Texas.
No, 2 in Texas and one is it not Chicago? No, it's the East Coast. Forgive my ignorance, Americans. And then you have Uruguay, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina. Time zone wise, they're not all over the place, and they're roughly on par with, or not too far away from, Texas in terms of time zone. So you have 5 nations, roughly at the same. And then out of nowhere, you have, Canada.
Messing shit up for everyone else.
I think they're 8 hours behind. USA is 6 hours behind us. Chile is 3 hours behind. And then Brazil is 2 hours.
Was that all?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I
need to look at a map more often. That surprises me.
From Universal Time, so we're in... Yeah.
Well, we're on Greenwich Mean Time at the moment.
So GMT, yeah.
Okay, well. So, I suppose the best I can hope is that, as it is the inaugural competition, so let's hope that, whether they need more funding or they need more backing from World Rugby, or whether they need more bigwigs or more
sponsors,
Southern Hemisphere coaches, and an injection of, funds, but it's... everyone talks about how the US is potentially the sleeping giant of World Rugby. It's, again, as I said for the ENC, I'd like to see more teams step up. And even if for the time being it is just, because it's Argentina already have a team, so I suppose I'm less interested in how the Argentina 15 do, and more, I suppose I've got a bigger interest in how Uruguay fare, just as they're one of the smaller nations, and I was pretty impressed with what I saw at the World Cup. So it's, Argentina, I reckon, will run away with it, and any of you guys?
In America, they've
bring it to the end.
They've announced their squad for the first Argentina game. I don't think they've announced their squad, but they've said they've taken Blaine Scully and Cam Dolan from Cardiff for that match. So I mean,
All right.
they're bringing some internationals with them. They've brought Tom Clever and Eric Fry as well.
So they are at
So they're
least semi-serious about the whole
So
thing.
wait a second.
yeah.
Clever's still playing rugby. Did he not retire?
No, he got dropped for the World Cup because he missed training sessions.
Yeah, but okay. No, for some reason I thought that he kind of just exited rugby after that. But all right, fair enough.
I don't like Clever.
Don't think anybody does.
Well, fair enough. So
How Clever does.
yeah, probably. We've been at this a while, so let's. We should probably end. Do we have outro music that we can start playing on a low level before we build, like Sav likes to do, or
Nah.
do we just have closing thoughts on a?
I'd say just
that's
closing thoughts and leave it at
exactly how
that.
it
And
goes.
thank you for the background music.
Okay, so what are we thinking? So, CC, Adam, thoughts in general about Six Nations this weekend, Europe and America?
Ooh, that's a lot to get it. Okay.
30 seconds, go.
Just pretty hyped in general. Just looking forward to it. Hopefully, it can pick off where it left off last year in the Six Nations. Looking forward to a good start with the ARC as well. Hopefully, have a good couple of games to sort of pique some interest with it. And with the ENC, hopefully, some of the smaller teams can get some good results against the bigger ones.
Harble, what do you think? Do you reckon the last weekend has ruined it, or will help it for this Six Nations this year?
I think picking up from where we all left off is a great way to move forward, or a great closing statement. I hope to see a change in style from Ireland. I hope to see new players tested out. I want to be proven wrong that we are going to beat Wales this weekend. And if we get over the hurdle of Wales, I see us potentially taking a championship. However, the one team I see us maybe stumbling over is England, not France. So Ireland for Six Nations, 3 in a row. For the ENC, Germany, that's it. I just want to see them win 1 or 2 games and avoid relegation. America's Cup, difficult to say. Don't know what to expect. Keeping an open mind and hope it isn't a big flop. Women's rugby, Ireland to take the Grand Slam. And under 20s, no idea.
Ireland to take the Grand Slam.
Thinking about going. I actually have no idea about the under 20s. I'm thinking about going to the under 20s match tomorrow because I don't have a ticket for the big boys rugby on the weekend.
Well, never mind.
Some of us aren't going to the Calcutta Cup.
Well, you were offered. You could still come. There's a ticket available. It's so Adam. Same goes for you. Right. America's Rugby Championship, I reckon, should be interesting at the least, and I'm hoping I can at least pay it some attention. Same goes for the ENC. I'm hoping the Six Nations will carry on in a similar fashion to how it ended from last year. And I'm hoping as well that Eddie Jones, being the new coach, will inject something new and different and exciting. And quite frankly, I'm really just hoping to see an England team that's good enough that some of us fans can go back to being as arrogant as we were 13 years ago. And some of that unjustified hate can become slightly more justified, and I think stamp our foot down a little bit.
I think me and Adam can agree to this. This is probably one of the last things we're going to say. Both of us would love to hate England again.
Yes.
Fair enough.
We love to hate you, but we love you nonetheless.
Well, that's nice. So yeah, it's
in a hateful way.
Well, naturally. This has been Line Break Rugby's not particularly well thought out podcast, but we got through it. So go us. Adam's been Adam.
Hello.
Say goodbye.
I mean goodbye.
Deck's been Deck.
Oh yeah,
and
Ireland for the Grand Slam.
Yeah, England for the Grand Slam. I think Deck is in charge of the stopping and the starting of this thing, so I'll just say that I've been Ed, and thanks for listening, and come back soon, and we'll try to be more interesting and more prepared next time. Kind of. I hope. Bye.
Bye.
Are we still recording?